Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm going to be speaking to you today about how ethics impacts assessment. I reviewed the ACA Code of Ethics from 2014, and it begins its section on assessment, evaluation, and interpretation, which is Section E, with a very broad and inclusive description of what assessment is. It includes things that you would expect, such as the limits of competence, which means counselors can only utilize assessments that have been trained to perform and evaluate the results of. Also, informed consent prior to the administration of any assessment, and of course, the release of data only to those who are qualified to interpret it and only with the consent of the client. The Code of Ethics also clearly defines how we should ethically approach the assessment process, including things we might not think of, such as Section E5C, which talks about prejudices and biases. Basically, as counselors, we need to be aware of our own personal feelings towards psychological diagnoses and be careful with handling clients that we might project those biases onto. We have to be very aware of our past and our thoughts and our concepts and how that affects our clients. Also, Section 5D talks about refraining from diagnosis. This surprised me because it talks about how we must consider the impact that a diagnosis will have upon a client, and that there may be times when we need to not share the diagnosis with a client. So we have to be very careful with how we approach things like that, how we give information to the client. And then, of course, Section 5B talks about cultural sensitivity, and Section 8 talks again about multicultural issues. This is a recurring theme throughout our counseling training, and I think it applies specifically to assessment in that so many assessments are geared specifically to native English speakers, Americans, people from a certain cultural background, and it does not reach as broadly as it should. So that is an area that we definitely need to improve upon. In my test evaluation, my test critique from last week, I also spoke about how we need to develop our assessments so that they are broader in reach. Ethical practice is very important because it protects the client as well as you, the counselor. Me, the counselor. To take it a step further, ethical practices are very important because they protect the whole field of counseling. It's really easy for one mistake to affect how the entire field is perceived. I feel that the ACA Code of Ethics was very thorough regarding the assessment process, and I didn't pick up on anything that seemed to be missing from the policy that I could think of. It seemed very inclusive. Now, regarding a biblical worldview, the Old Testament states in Leviticus that you shall do no wrong in judgment in measures of length or weight or quantity. You shall have just balances, just weights. And Psalms 24:21 says, may integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. I feel these verses apply directly to counseling and the use of ethics when it comes to counseling and assessing clients, because we are to use the assessments that we are trained in and the knowledge that we have gained and use them with integrity. The Bible speaks very clearly that we are to assess things properly and you do it honestly and with integrity. In addition, Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. This means we are to do our very best to work to help our clients, because in doing so, we honor the Lord. So do your best work and God will be honored. Of course, the references for this is the American Counseling Association 2014 and the Holy Bible. So thanks so much for listening. I look forward to your feedback, and I look forward to giving you feedback. This has been a fun class, and I appreciate everything that our exchanges have encountered or included. Thank you. Have a great day. Be blessed.